Hey everybody, welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I have a special guest today. It's Kathy Myers. She's running for the Congressional District 1 in Wisconsin. You know who her opponent is. That's right. It's Paul Ryan, the Ayn Rand disciple, okay? Now, Kathy Myers is the daughter of an Army vet and an Army Reserve nurse herself. She was born in Iowa. She made her way. She lives in Janesville, Wisconsin, where she was elected to the local school board twice. And now she's running for Congress. Hi, Kathy. Thanks for coming on.
Hi. Thank you very much for having me.
So just tell me why you're running for Congress.
Sure. Well, I'm running for Congress because it seems like an opportunity doesn't exist anymore, especially if you are anywhere near the middle class. And I think it's Paul Ryan's fault. And I think I'm the candidate who can take him out. That's why I'm running.
Oh, okay. So so you make the case that the middle class is slipping away. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean things like so in the late 70s, for instance, you could go to college and you could leave college, and actually more like in the late 60s, you could leave college and be debt free. And that doesn't happen anymore. We don't invest as much in education in this country anymore. And to me, education is, kind of at the heart of opportunity. So I'm the mom of two children in their 20s. I have a daughter who lives in Chicago, and she is 27, and a son who lives in Madison. He's 28, and both of them have student loan debt that now they're getting on their feet and everything now. But I'm thinking about the other things that they didn't do because of that. So they haven't bought a house yet. They haven't. They don't spend money like they might if they didn't have all this student loan debt. And so it's really hard, actually, when you have your children and they go through this and they do everything they're supposed to do. They were good students. They got scholarships. They studied hard, and then they leave college. And as my son said, there was a point where he said, "I don't even know why I did that. I just." Why did I even bother? Because the opportunity just felt like it didn't exist. So that's one way that opportunity seems to not exist. And of course, if you get sick, especially if the Republicans are able to successfully get rid of the Affordable Care Act or impose their version of health care, which is not health care at all. If you get sick, well, then you might as well just opportunity is gone, because
Kathy,
there's no way you could afford to live.
Right. Now, Kathy, so are you saying you're for free college tuition?
Yes.
Oh, so you're for
yes,
free?
I am.
So you're for free college tuition. Now, people will say immediately, who's going to pay for that?
Right. Well, it's going to we're going to have to start changing what we invested in this country. And we do pay a lot of taxes here, and we might end up paying a little bit more. But, you could change your priorities a bit. We spend the most on the military in this country. We could be using some of that money for other things like healthcare and investing in our children through education. So I think that what this means to me is we have money, we just have our priorities wrong, and that's what I want to approach.
Well, right now, Kathy, the Democrats in the Senate just went along with Trump. In fact, they gave him $30 billion more a year than he asked for the military, bringing it up to an extra $80 billion a year over the next 10 years that they're going to spend on the military to make bombs and stuff for enemies that we don't have, that are non-existent. We're fighting ghosts with $1 trillion war budget, yet we're telling people that they can't afford free college in the richest country the face of the earth has ever seen. And you're correct when you say that it's just a misplaced priorities. By the way, no discussion in the country over that $80 billion a year. Zero. Yeah. But if you wanted to spend $80 billion a year to have people go to college for free, the whole world will have to come to a stop so we could talk about it nonstop 24 hours a day and figure out who's going to pay for it. But if you're going to buy a bomb that's going to enrich the 1%, no discussion whatsoever. So we have the money, right? So people say we don't have the money. What we don't have is the money to keep wasting on the military. When you build a bomb, that's money that doesn't help help the economy. It's the worst way to build jobs is military spending. Least efficient way to build jobs is military spending. And we're doing it left and right. So you're exactly right. When you spend money on college, that's not an expense. That's an investment. You get money back on that. That's not money out the window. When you send someone to college, they then go on to pay a lot of taxes in their life and build our community and building up our country and our community and our economy. So those are costs, right? And when you give someone medicine, Medicare for all, now they're free to go out and be entrepreneurs. So many people are stuck in jobs that they don't want to be in anymore, but they keep because they need the medical coverage. Now, if we got rid of that kind of trap that they're in, that would unleash the power of entrepreneurship in our economy, and that would also boost our economy. So I think those are two great things. So you're for both of those, Medicare for all and free college tuition. Now, Randy Bryce is the other Democrat who wants to run against Paul Ryan. He says he's for both those things. How are you different from him?
Oh, I'm different in a few ways. First of all, I would say that I'm different, not just on policies, but also on leadership ability and electability. Randy's been on the scene politically since 2011, and he's a decent guy. And he is an activist. He's kind of an agitator, which is great. There's a place for that. But in the same amount of time that I got elected, he's lost 3 elections, and I don't know why. I'm not going to judge why. I think that running for office is incredibly difficult, but I know that I've won twice in the same amount of time, and I was top vote getter each time, and I did it by going out and talking to people and working, like a neighbor to neighbor, grassroots kind of approach. And I think that Randy's campaign is kind of exhibiting an approach that is the antithesis of that approach, the grassroots approach. I expected to be bombarded, with kind of a machine kind of politics from Paul Ryan, but I feel like I'm getting that as well from my primary opponent, who seems to be really kind of established. And embedded with the establishment kind of crowd, and so I don't really feel like we're getting a really great primary yet. But also, I would say, as far as issues are concerned, I'd say I'm stronger on the environment. I believe that we need to be investing in clean energy in this country. I think we need to treat it like a stimulus so that, and by the way, there are great jobs with that. And, think about the byproduct of like clean air and water as a legacy for our kids. And we have a tar sands oil pipeline that goes through the 1st Congressional District, goes down through Wisconsin. And that's terrible stuff. It's toxic stuff. And guess what? It's run by the Enbridge Pipeline Company. And Randy has not necessarily come out very strong in that. As a matter of fact, he's refused to really push back hard on the need for clean energy and to be against pipelines. He tends to view it as a jobs issue. And, I respect that. I respect that concern. I want really good jobs too, but I think you can have both. I think you can have clean energy and really great paying unionized jobs. And I think we need to be forward thinking. So that's one policy approach that I think is a difference between us. And also, as far as immigration is concerned, I support DACA. I believe that that local law enforcement should stay out of doing the work of ICE. And Randy has supported using local law enforcement to do the job of ICE. And so I'd say that's one other area that where we differentiate.
Wow, so that's no small thing, especially in this day and age and the people's fear of Trump. I did not know that Randy was for using local law enforcement for immigration policies. That's kind of the opposite of a progressive view on something like that. So why do you think it is that Randy Bryce has sucked all the energy, all the oxygen out of the room for other candidates? Because all we hear about is Randy Bryce.
Mm-hmm. Well, so he had kind of a group of people that got together and they started looking for candidates. They went through a couple of them until they got to him, and they produced they produced a really great video. And Randy is using that video to point to the fact that he is the most viable against Paul Ryan. And while I will admit that it is a great video, I think there's got to be a lot more to it. I think that a video is not going to get you command the respect of going up against the Speaker of the House. I think you need someone that has been a proven leader and a winner and a person that gets things done.
Have you been able to afford any polling to find out how close the race is?
We have not done any polling yet. That's coming in the near future.
Okay, so the primary, is it the spring primary that we're looking for? Is that where you're running against Randy, or is it November?
Well, I'm running against Randy, and that comes around next August. So we have a late primary in Wisconsin. And then whoever, of course, comes out of that goes up against Ryan in November.
Oh, so the Democratic primary is in August?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So the information, I was looking at something in February. Okay, I had bad information. Thanks for straightening us out. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, the Democratic Party has neglected Wisconsin in the most recent past. Hillary Clinton famously failed to go there, although she does have a book tour scheduled to go to Milwaukee. So I guess she knows where it is anyway. So Hillary Clinton didn't go to Wisconsin, and Barack Obama famously did not put on his comfortable shoe and walk with the teachers when Paul Ryan was taking the union away from them. Mm-hmm. So first of all, can you speak to that about the Democratic's failures in Wisconsin, and how do you think you can rebuild people's faith in the Democratic Party in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I was really quite disappointed in both of those things. When I got into this race, I decided that the way that we have to approach it and the way that we have to change the way that we do things within the Democratic Party. And, I've always thought that the Democrats kind of hedge their bets sometimes, like they're really afraid to speak up and demand what they know will be in the best interest of the country. And so because we're always worried about whether it makes us electable or not. And I think that what that leads to is a lot of a lack of authenticity. And I think people smell that. And so I decided that when I got into this race, I'm going to just say what I want and what I think we need and what I think is best for this country and best for the first district. And, if that doesn't work out, that doesn't work out. But I decided that I have to be really clear about that. And I think that has been a problem with the Democrats, that we've sort of just stuck our toe in the water, and so President Obama, had the ACA, but he had to get that by, of course, kind of getting in bed with the corporate interests. I guess you kind of, I don't know. I guess what I would have liked to have seen out of President Obama is to push for Medicare for all in the first place, and say that is the ultimate goal. And I kind of felt like he kind of gave up the store a little bit, perhaps too early, but I mean, I am kind of armchair quarterbacking it, I suppose. But, I really think that's one of those things. And I also think we need to focus really hard on these kind of issues, these truly progressive issues, because I think that's going to drive voter turnout. And I think that's how we win.
I couldn't agree with you on the last point more about it. Progressive issues drive voter turnout. We know that when the minimum wage is on the ballot, that's how Democrats get elected. Just like when gay marriage is on the ballot, that's how Republicans get elected. Claire McCaskill owns her Senate seat to the minimum wage being on the bill there, ballot there. So, I mean, you're exactly 100% right, except the reason why I think the Democrats can only stick their toe in the water, Kathy, as you say, the reason why Barack Obama could not put on a comfortable shoe and stick up for teachers is because they're bought. And that's why Bernie Sanders was so popular, and that's why we have Trump, right? Because people couldn't bring themselves to vote for the status quo anymore, which is the status quo, which was one party, which is the money party, right? I mean, Hillary Clinton championed NAFTA. Barack Obama was screaming at the top of his lungs for TPP all through the election, and you wonder why people didn't come out to vote. And then the Democrats wag their finger at people and say, if you don't elect Democrats, this is what you get. Well, if you don't inspire people to come out to vote, this is what you get. So progressive issues on ballots is what moves people to the polls. I know that firsthand. So that you're exactly right about that. But So why do you think? So why do you think it is the Democrats have lost touch? Why are they wiped out at every level of government right now? They have no presence in the Congress. They lost the Senate. They lost the presidency to a game show host who's a clown, and they lost over 1,000 state seats. Now a lot of people wag their finger and say it's Susan Sarandon's fault. I didn't know she had that much power. But why do you think the Democrats are wiped out at every level of government and can continue to do the exact same thing and nothing different?
First of all, I think that Democrats need to own their stuff. And so when we make mistakes, I think we need to own it. And so, no, you cannot blame Susan Sarandon for any losses. That's ridiculous. But I also think that one of the biggest problems, and you mentioned them being bought, is the money in politics. And by the way, that is a nonpartisan issue. I think that what it creates, is not only an inaccessibility to the candidate. It also creates a lot of cynicism, and it also deprives us, I think, of a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent out there. There are people that have got good ideas and people that want to become citizen legislators and want to, give into, and be a part of their community. And they look at that money and they think there's no way that I can raise that kind of money to be viable. And I think that is, one of the biggest problems that we face here. So for instance, as long as Paul Ryan is getting over $170,000 from the gun lobby, like he did last year, in a year that he didn't, he really didn't even have to campaign. Well, we'll not have any gun legislation or common sense gun legislation to prevent things like that. What happened on, just a couple of days ago.
So do you think yeah. Paul Ryan is vulnerable on that gun legislation, and do you think that Paul Ryan is vulnerable overall in your district?
I think Paul Ryan is vulnerable overall in our district. It's not just the gun thing. It's the fact that he doesn't interact with his constituents anymore. He doesn't hold legitimate town halls. And Paul Ryan's been there for nearly 20 years, and he doesn't have a very strong legislative history. In other words, he's managed to sort of get by without having to put his name on a lot of things and really own things. And I think that changed, especially this spring when he put his name on that health care bill. And we discovered that what he really cares about is taking, 23 million people off of health care and nearly 50,000 of them in the 1st Congressional District alone. So I think that Paul Ryan has truly revealed himself, and that's one of the reasons he's vulnerable.
Well, listen, we've been talking with Kathy Myers. She's a Democrat running for Congress in Wisconsin's 1st Congressional District. If she's successful in the primary against Randy Bryce, she'll go on to take on Paul Ryan. And that would be quite a coup to take up Paul Ryan in the 1st Congress. He is the speaker. That would be quite a day for the Democrats if they could do that. So good luck to you, Kathy. She's a real progressive. That sounds like to us, right? Her positions pass our test. So thanks for coming on, Kathy. What's any last words to the audience?
Well, sure. We can't do this alone. This has got to be a movement of sorts. And so if you would like to help out or contribute, you can go to kathymyersforcongress.com. Okay,
Kathy, thanks and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Portland, Oregon, the Jimmy Dore Show is coming to the Alberta Rose Theater November 12th. And we're going to Burbank, California, November 6th. And the Hollywood Improv on October 16th. There's a link for tickets right down there. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for all links for all shows.